I hadn't stepped out of the house in 4 months. It was one of the best summers of my life, and I wanted to die.
Bro, hey bro, hey bro. Mom!
I was watching a documentary where they said that this TV static is actually the light that it picks up from the Big Bang explosion. The explosion happened 13.5 billion years ago, and for some reason, the light is still spreading. I don't know why they gave me this information, but it made me want to die even more. When I told my friend about it, he gave me these tablets that made me forget who or where I was for a few hours. I asked him why he gave me those tablets. He said that death would stop seeming like a big deal once I've lived that way for a considerable period of time. I can't remember the last time either of us smiled this way. Hello, Mr. Heaven? I'm calling you in regard to a very specific question that is keeping me from returning to my otherwise less chaotic cerebral state. So, how do you really know when a person is sad? Like if he displays no telltale signs associated with sadness, such as crying or unwillingness to perform daily duties, or somehow gives the impression that he has his own oblique set of reasons to get out of bed early morning, and so on. So, in that case, how do you confirm your suspicion that the mortal in question is, you know, sad? Hmm. Yeah. 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 Yeah, I'm totally with you on the we are nothing more than God's hallucination thing. But what I mean to ask, Mr. Heaven, if you don't mind, is what if the human shaped structure under discussion has nothing prima facie questionable about his demeanor? You know? What if. Um, Currently I'm facing a situation which is going to be an impediment to my very eye opening interface with you. So, I'll have to screw. Salut!
What's up? Who were you talking to?
What do you mean, talking?
Well, I could see you from there, making movements with your mouth. Holding the thing which I should remind you is just a showpiece and not an actual phone. So I thought I'll ask you.
What do you mean, you?
Okay, go.
And it's not even that I don't want to sympathize with him. All I ask is for some semblance of pattern to his erraticity. I'm telling you, you won't believe the amount of headache and sweat involved in getting a simple yes or no answer out of him.
How does this thing work?
You gotta press it twice.
Like that?
Yeah.
Away from the bedsheet. Do you think you want to share your feelings with me? Is it something I did or say that is keeping you from doing so?
Do you want me to answer both of those things at once? Because I can't think of any conceivable way to do that.
Because I can give you my assurance that I had no such intentions. You know what your problem is?
I have just one?
I'm just trying to reconcile your internal issues, which you should know I take very seriously. Can you help me do that?
I think it's too much to ask of a man who's just trying to enjoy his mango. Super ripe, by the way. You think you could give me a simpler task? Hell isn't an imaginary land with harm causing inhabitants. It's a feeling much stronger and worse than the fear of death. In some cases, death itself. Your individuality is not an objective truth, but a story you tell yourself. Who you really are is contextual, and so is mediocrity. Contextual, that is. Most people you like to call friends are going to like you only as long as you fit into the character you've been assigned in their heads. There are people who use the word party as a verb, and people who use it the way it's meant to be used, as a noun. You might want to stay clear of the former after a certain point in your life. Love can exist independent of passion or pleasure. Sometimes the point is not winning, but merely choosing to fight. Talking of choices, high optimism may lead you to believe that you make choices to make things go in your favor. But in truth, there are only chains, no choices. Chain A, chain B, chain C, and so on. The chains can be of your choosing, but not the choices themselves. Uncurbed supply of trust and forgiveness for a person can be as detrimental to his character building graph as continual physical or mental abuse. Apples are actually one of the most contaminated foods, pesticide wise. I have more reasons to vouch against the whole "it keeps the doctor away" proverb than not.
It became near impossible for me and Mum to ignore this odor of suppression when he just out of somewhere blue started this imaginary radio show where it's just him speaking into the void for literally hours. Oh, it's soul sucking. But at least he's talking. Though I have to say it was a bit too much when he claimed last week that his show reached a listenership of 5K and then he baked a cake for us.
Boy, it's a really good cake, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah, we've got a good cake here, isn't it?
yes.
Yes.
We've got a good cake here. It has a nice bounce to it.
The cake's not bad.
It's a really good cake.
Yes, with a nice bounce.
Is it a Japanese cake?
Well, I don't know about its nationality. I think cake transcends all national barriers. Much like oysters.
Before I say anything about my son, you should know that the one thing that keeps him going is his appreciation of art. All forms of it. But he's also a boy with deeply unresolved issues.
Sorry, once again, please.
But he's also a boy with deeply unresolved issues.
Great. Yeah, but they need to be in the frame. That's all I'm saying. Because otherwise it makes no sense. Think about it.
My own opinions of me leaves very little room or patience for anybody else's opinions of me.
So Mum and I eventually reached a sufficient level of acceptance of the radio show for all its complexly layered problems. We figured, why not go along to get along? But here's something about the true nature of obsession. It progresses downhill ever so slowly that you, the sane one, begin to question yourself whether it's you who's out of balance for giving too much importance to something that could, well, be a result of your own unresolved issues. So I got on board to play his daughter when he said that he wanted to make a film, trying to be as non-intrusive as I could. Which you might be interested to know, this fear of appearing intrusive I probably get from my mom. Anyway, the film itself had nothing memorable about it, except for his uneven sized breasts. Help! It's basically an anti narrative drama where the mother suffers from a rare medical condition where she gets crazy epileptic seizures every time her kid says something that conflicts with her own opinions.
Come closer.
It doesn't really take an expert on character disorders and weaknesses to know why exactly he chose that particular theme for the film. I don't know if he's been smoking too much pot or just trying to mess with me or what, but every time I try to ask him something that even remotely confronts his internal life, he breaks into an abstract philosophical discourse on how we are all just projections and I shouldn't take him too seriously. That seems to be his thing lately.
It's true though. They're working on these elaborate machines to give you the illusion of like walking or talking and eating and stuff. But in reality, you're stuck in one place for eternity. For me, it would be this room. You know, they keep changing the furniture and the walls and the paintings on them to hide that fact. And the people you lovingly call society. It's all mathematics, man.
Mom, I'm leaving.
You only think you're leaving. At a certain point, impossible to place a finger on grief becomes indistinguishable from impossible to place a finger on pleasure. It begins with puzzlement, and then boredom, and then impatience, and then excruciation, and then near rage.
Hey, can you keep it low? I'm trying to watch TV here.
Well, what do we have here? Our first caller of the day. And how are you today, Mr. Grief? Well, don't we all? Beware of the knowers, my friend. You live in a world which values nothing more than the worship of self. The ruthless, never relaxing self with its primal instincts designed to let you believe in your pursuit of a greater good. When the self is so complete in its hatred of anything even remotely resembling a greater good that it doesn't see anything beyond its own beliefs or choice of battles or the conviction that evil exists, but not within and everywhere else outside of it. There is such a thing as raw, unalloyed kindness, but the self asks you to believe in charity instead. The really creepy part about charity is that it depends on deprivation and suffering to continue, for the self values nothing more than its own virtue. The cause towards which the charity is seemingly directed is of little importance. Let me call you a good man so that you call me a good man in return. What a bunch of crap! The truth is that the self is a cage that renders you unable to care or choose anything outside it. You start treating this failure to choose among your emotions as a failure of the world. This is my truth, that is to say, for anything absolute is immoral. There's nothing unique about the feelings of sadness or pain, but the problem lies in feeling sad about the feeling of sadness itself. Because you see, sadness is a thing. Whether you like it or not, it makes no difference. You are in it, whether you prefer it or not. So it's better to prefer it, isn't it? And that is why I will never get the cinematic notion of reaching out to the ones who don't have the same upbeat idea of life as you. As if this lame condescending shit is making anything better for a person who is undergoing some revision as far as the concept of normal and respectable human behavior is concerned. Grief. My challenge to you is to imagine a world without you in it and be okay with it. Because there's nothing more discomforting than the thought that once you're gone, your friends will still go out drinking, your girlfriend will eventually meet someone else, your mother will still work and cook and eat and sleep, and the world would still be debating over whether depression is all that bad. I leave it up to my listeners to determine whether this serves some theoretical aesthetic end or if I'm just a terribly shitty orator. Goodbye, grief.